Democrats recently released emails from Jeffrey Epstein, as well as emails between Jeffrey Epstein and journalist Michael Wolff, which they said proves Donald Trump was engaged in untoward activity, and that is an understatement. However, shortly after the release of these emails, not many people noticed the victim's name that was redacted was, in fact, Virginia Giuffre, who had already testified years ago that Trump never did anything wrong. So the question then becomes, why did Democrats choose to redact the name of an individual who had already testified Trump never did anything wrong? It's because they know that Virginia Giuffre testified this, and by redacting the victim, no one knows who the victim supposedly is, and it implies Trump did something wrong. In other words, they're trying to frame Donald Trump. Now, hey, don't get me wrong. I want the Epstein files released. I'm with Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna. Let's go, baby. I don't know why Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, or anyone else is saying there's nothing going on, and they haven't given us a good enough reason to believe nothing is going on. So they botched this one. Let's see the Epstein files released, what they've got, what they can release. I'm assuming most of it's gone anyway, and I don't necessarily trust any of it, but I'm not playing these games. That being said, Democrats tried to frame Donald Trump and got caught the same day, and it is insane. But where are we? As a country, where are we? Do you think any Democrat's going to admit this? No. What's her face? Crockett was on CNN, and when asked about it, she says, I don't, whatever, who cares? Whatever, who cares? Something to that effect. Now, the bigger scandal here, in my opinion, which is shocking, is evidence of collusion between a journalist and Jeffrey Epstein to smear Donald Trump. That's right. In 2018, the guy who wrote this book attacking Donald Trump was advising Jeffrey Epstein on how to respond to the press to make Trump look bad. Now, what I really love about this is all of the Democrats that are just like, Jeffrey Epstein's word is law. That's right. Emails from a guy who is a trafficker certainly are credible, and they're going to take them all at face value. Okay. Well, Donald Trump has been accused of being an informant on Jeffrey Epstein, though Speaker Johnson walked that back. Donald Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago decades ago because he found out the guy was around young girls, and he said, I don't want whatever that is. And then people are saying, well, why didn't you never tell law enforcement? Well, that may be the case, maybe not. I don't know. So I'd like to see whatever they've got. And it's time we get the big picture, the real picture. So long as Trump's not releasing this, Democrats are weaponizing it against him. So we're going to talk about that, my friends. And I got to tell you, with all this drama, the government shutdowns, I think Trump's losing the younger generation. And I think a turn has happened in the past couple of weeks, which is not favorable for the Republicans. I'll put it like that. And this story, well, it certainly makes Democrats look bad. It is drama bait garbage. Now, this is the big story politically. It's the big political scandal. I think it's important to call out Democrats when they do this stuff. I think it's important to additionally say, okay, Trump released the Epstein files. But man, I got to tell you guys, it is demoralizing because I'm really worried about the border, the economy, H-1Bs, and all of those things, which of course I've talked about, but this is where we are. Now, before we get into all of that, my friends, we got a great sponsor. It is chefiq.com. Check it out. Use promo code TIM. This is amazing. They're Bluetooth thermometers, so you can know the internal temperature of your meat from your phone. You don't got to keep getting up. Fantastic stuff. Cooking Thanksgiving is high stakes, my friends. It feels like one dried out turkey can ruin it all. Bad turkey ruins Thanksgiving for sure. That's why Chef IQ Sense is amazing. The wireless cooking thermometer takes the guesswork out of the holiday cooking. The USDA says turkey's got to hit 165 degrees to be safe, but your eyes can deceive. With Chef IQ, you ensure that you will hit that perfect temperature every time. Whether you're roasting, grilling, pan-searing, even smoking a turkey, it's got you covered. It couldn't be easier. Just insert the sensor, tell the app what you're cooking, and sit back and relax. Chef IQ Sense tells you when to flip it, take it off the heat, even how long to let it rest. Basically, it's like having a personal chef watching the stove so you can hang out with your guests. No more oven peaking, no more dried out turkey, just perfectly cooked meals every time. And it works great for steaks, chicken, fish, whatever you're cooking. You'll wonder how you ever cooked without it. It's a great gift as well for seasoned cooks plus kitchen rookies. Get 30% off chefiq.com. Use promo code TIM. But don't forget, my friends, join the Discord community at timcast.com. The work we do here is not possible without you. And if you think us calling out the lies, the machine, and the partisanship, it's important, then we need your support. Head over to timcast.com and click Join Us. And for $10 a month, not only do you ensure our continued efforts here every day and our team, you will be involved in our Discord community. We're doing 6 p.m. shows with one of our co-hosts every day. We've got the Backstage Pass on Fridays, as well as member-exclusive events such as the Culture War Live and, my friends, Mamba Collectibles in Martinsburg, West Virginia. Play your card games, play your board games. We are gearing up to set up our Friday night shows at this space, and this is going to be where we have our hangouts and meetups, cast brew coffee, all that stuff soon to come. But we can't do this without you. So if you think we do important work and you want to ensure that it keeps going, timcast.com, join us, $10 a month. Let's get into the news from Politico. One more thing. Shout out to Steven Crowder and the Mug Club. You guys rock. Thank you for hanging out and watching the show for this, the Rumble Morning lineup. And then I will just give a quick blurb. After this, we're going to be talking about the geostorm, the magnetic storm that nearly destroyed the planet the other day. That's not a joke. Maybe. I don't know. Here's the news from Politico as we bring it back to Earth. Latest Epstein files knock White House on its heels. The latest revelations stand to further fracture a party that's already splintered once this year over the so-called Epstein files during a much less politically fraught moment. Following a brutal week for Trump, during which his party took a beating at the polls, the Supreme Court seemed skeptical of his beloved tariffs, and Republicans continued to feud over accusations of anti-Semitism. The White House had hoped to take a victory lap on ending the 43-day government shutdown. But on Wednesday, House Democrats released documents revealing that, in the words of the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, Trump, quote, knew about the girls. The late convicted offender was trafficking, the latest blow to a White House already reeling from a series of setbacks. One Trump ally said the latest Epstein discourse has taken things that are already complicated for the president and brings them to the surface. It's like adding salt to a dish. The flavors are already there. It just accentuates all of them, said the person who was granted anonymity to speak candidly about the issue. The fresh wave of chaos has knocked administration on its heels. The president lashed out at Republicans on social media. Some House Republicans are under pressure to withdraw from the effort to bring the matter to the floor, and White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt blamed the media. Quote, "This is another distraction campaign by the Democrats and the liberal media, and it's why I'm being asked questions about Epstein instead of the government reopening, because of Republicans and President Trump. Privately, White House aides push back on the idea that this is a particularly bad moment for them, or that they have suffered a string of defeats. They never expected to win last week's elections, and that it's too early to judge the outcome of the tariff case. With justices lobbying tough questions at both sides," said a senior White House official, and they're characterizing the latest Epstein document release as nothing more than annoying. "I definitely would not say it's been brutal," said the senior White House official granted anonymity. "We are used to waking up every day and not knowing what the day will bring. That's the nature of working on this job." Well, my friends, Trump has responded on Truth Social, saying the Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. The Democrats cost our country $1.5 trillion with their recent antics of viciously closing our country, while at the same time putting many at risk. And they should pay a fair price. There should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else, and any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats. He continued. In other words, the Democrats are using the Jeffrey Epstein hoax to try and deflect from their massive failures, in particular their most recent one, the shutdown. Now I'm going to say it again, my friends. Release the Epstein files, what they've got. I am totally on board with that. It should be done. That being said, Democrats are lying. Here's the image that got released. Shout out to MJ Truth Ultra on X for this graphic. From GMAX to JEE Vacation, which is apparently Jeffrey Epstein. This is Jeffrey Epstein said, "I want you to realize that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. ... Victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned, police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. Heavens me. When this email came out, I was getting texts from the press saying, Tim, what do you have to say about this? And I'm like, look, the greater right wants the Epstein files released, and the Trump diehards are saying, we want results. We don't care about this. However, here's the best part. Democrats redacted the name of the victim. When the purpose here was to make it so that you did not know who the victim was and you couldn't look into what they were talking about. Because here's the real email. I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump, ... Virginia spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Heavens me. The reason why that's so alarming? Well, Virginia Giuffre had already testified that Donald Trump did nothing wrong. I don't know if I have one pulled up right here. No, I got the Krasensteins. We'll get to that in a second. Giuffre had already said, here we go. MJ Truth Ultra says, Democrats intentionally redacted Virginia because the name would 100% vindicate him. Rob Schmidt, this shows how sick and twisted Democrats in the mainstream media are. They redacted the victim's name because they knew that releasing it would destroy their narrative. They redacted Virginia Giuffre's name because in her own depositions and memoir, she stated that Donald Trump never did anything wrong and was a perfect gentleman.
Hey guys, big headline this morning about Epstein and Trump and this underage victim that Trump reportedly spent hours with. If anything proves to you just how vile the people that we're dealing with are, how disgusting the media is, and how aligned the Democrat agenda is with the broader mainstream media, this story is everywhere. New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, every cable channel. This is the front page. This is the big top story. And it alleges something absolutely heinous, that Trump spent hours at his house with one of the victims of Epstein. And it just leaves it right there because they just want you to see that headline. Trump spent hours with a victim. Oh, well, what comes into your head when you think about that headline? That's exactly what they want you to do. Here's the problem, and this is how disgusting these people are. They redact the name of the alleged victim, and they did that for a reason, because the name of that victim would blow up their whole story. So they redact that part. Republicans were quick to unmask that redaction. The name is Virginia Giuffre, a young lady who, in depositions and also in her own memoir, a book that she wrote, said that Donald Trump never did anything wrong and was a perfect gentleman the entire time. They conceal that, and now your entire X feed and the media are all just out there alleging, oh, this is the smoking gun. See, he's a pedophile. This is how sick and twisted these people are. They are vile creatures.
Indeed. Indeed, they are, my friends, and it is demoralizing. We've got this clip.
This is an email from April 2nd.
Jasmine Crockett, how does she respond to the fact that Democrats tried framing Donald Trump?
This is an email from April 2nd, 2011. Republicans are saying that that victim is Virginia Giuffre. As you know, she died by suicide. She's been very outspoken victim of Jeffrey Epstein. Here's the email right here on your screen. She wrote a book, as you know, and she did not accuse him of any wrongdoing. What do you make of that? And can you confirm that?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's redacted who the victim is, so I won't necessarily take the Republicans' word on who it is that's redacted. And I don't know why they would necessarily redact someone's name who is deceased at this point.
The Democrats did that, though. The Democrats redacted.
No. I understand,
okay,
but I'm just saying, like, our biggest concern is to actually make sure that we are protecting victims. And obviously, she wrote a book. She told her truth.
This is an email from April 2nd.
So Jasmine Crockett, of course, trying to make the claim that, I don't believe it. The name's redacted. So who knows who it could have been? It was Virginia Giuffre. And they did this to frame Trump. Check this out. From MJ Truth Ultra, here's the real scandal. MJ says, OMG, I just realized something. The real scandal in these emails isn't Trump and Epstein. It's Michael Wolff, a leading journalist coaching a convicted sex offender on how to manipulate a presidential candidate for personal and political gain. This is very serious, actually. Take Wolff's book, for example, Fire and Fury, Siege, Landslide, which he profited off of Trump's presidency for millions. Now we know that Wolff was advising Epstein during the campaign. Every explosive claim in the books is now under a cloud of conflict of interest. Why isn't anyone talking about this? Why was a journalist coaching a pedo? Let me pull this up so we can zoom in on it. This is from 2015, from Michael Wolff to Jeffrey Epstein. And we can see the chain. The first email Wolf sent was, I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. Epstein responds, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? Wolf says, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in the Trump regime. This was not Michael Wolff saying, burn him down. This was him saying, here's how you maximize benefit to protect yourself. This is Michael Wolff saying, you could, if you could save Trump and generate a debt with him. This was a man telling Jeffrey Epstein how to save himself. Why? Why? For those that aren't familiar, this guy wrote the book Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House. It is a book by journalist Michael Wolff, which according to Wolff details the behavior of Trump, his staff, in his 2016 campaign. Title refers to a quote by Trump about the conflict with North Korea. The book highlights the book became a New York Times #1 bestseller. Reviewers generally accepted Wolff's portrait of a dysfunctional Trump administration, but were skeptical of many of Wolff's particular claims. The book highlights descriptions of Trump's behavior, chaotic interactions among senior White House staff, and derogatory comments about the Trump family by former White House Chief Justice Steve Bannon. Trump is depicted as being held in low regard by his staff, leading Wolff to claim that 100% of the people around him believe Trump is unfit for office, and that is a psychotic lie. And I can tell you this because I have been in the presence of Trump and his staff, and everybody loves the man, which is just so insane for him to assert that people think he's unfit. I go to Mar-a-Lago, and there are people they're following Trump around like bad farts, desperately trying to talk to him because they want to be around the guy. They want to talk to him. They want time with him. They know he is a capable man. By all means, rag on Trump for literally any reason you want. Trump is worthy of criticism for a lot of reasons. But this is very strange. In 2015, according to these emails, assuming it's true, Michael Wolff, who wrote this book, Smearing Trump, was advising Jeffrey Epstein on how to benefit himself, even if it meant saving Trump. So it wasn't an anti-Trump setup. It was a pro-Epstein setup, which is very strange for this man who later went on to write this book about Trump and make lots of money off it, according to the reports. Democrats are trying to frame Trump. We can see that. What's interesting is this story. 2 months ago, Mike Johnson claimed Trump was an anti-Epstein informant, then retreated amid criticism. House Speaker made baffling claim that the president worked with the FBI to take down Epstein before later backing away. I think this actually may be the case, or it's a probability. Speaker Johnson knows things that we don't, and he was being asked about it, and he said Trump was an informant to the FBI. Could it be that the reason Trump doesn't want to release Epstein files is because it will expose him as a snitch, not just on Epstein, but on a lot of stuff? I think there's a strong probability there. And it's funny, I brought this up a while ago, and these liberals were like, Tim thinks that, Trump was a secret hero with the FBI. And I'm like, what I am telling all of you is that if word got out, Trump was a snitch to the FBI on a bunch of other prominent, powerful people, it would be knives out for the man. He'd lose donors. They'd come after him. So, yeah, he wants to cover it up as if somehow that's me defending Trump. Well, it's because they want the narrative to be that Trump is a pedo. And I'm like, maybe, probably not. I mean, I feel like if they really had that evidence, they would have released it, not be doing these stupid schemes. I think there's a possibility. I don't know if it's a 10% or a 1%. Johnson shouldn't have said what he said. He walked it back later. Maybe he actually knew behind the scenes that Trump was asked by the FBI about Epstein, snitched on him, and the FBI said, what about other guys? And Trump was like, I'll give you everything. Could you imagine if it turns out that Trump has Mar-a-Lago bugged? So when powerful people come from meetings, he records it and sends it off to the feds. What would happen to Mar-a-Lago were that the case? I'm not saying it's true. I don't know for sure. What I can say is this is a big distraction. And where we are going right now as a country, it is, demoralizing to see. Rich Barris says the Republican Party might have blown their window to capture Trump's coalition. I agree. I've been having some conversations with other conservative personalities, and we're in a bad period. You know, I wonder how many people are willing to actually bring it up. There's a lot of things happening that people freaked out. And this ain't it. First, let's start with the Candace Owens drama stuff. Candace Owens, of course, announcing how she's the #1 podcast in the world. Congratulations, by the way, by creating True Crime News. It's a combination of news-relevant information and true crime e-drama, where she shows text messages between her and Charlie Kirk. She has a tweet in reference to the Israel donor saying Erica knows everything, and it's generated lots of views for her. I don't care all that much, to be honest. It is kind of like, well, like, dude, if I did a true crime e-drama thing, like, I get more views. You do shot content, you do kind of stuff, fine. The issue that I have that's demoralizing is it's a large portion of our news cycle right now that conservative women and Candace are fighting with each other, or that Ben Shapiro is on Megyn Kelly and we're debating the merits of the conspiracy theory. By all means, conspiracy theories are allowed. I'm saying we're not even talking about the conspiracy theory. We're not talking conspiracy theory. We're talking about a conspiracy theory drama between these people. And I'm just sitting here being like, well, the H-1Bs are getting kicked up. China's visas are getting kicked up. And this is what people want, huh? Leave me out of it. It's demoralizing. Because people are like, oh, I'm going to go watch the drama show. Go ahead. It's cringe. And I don't care. Look, I get it. Drama show stuff, you get way more views, you make way more money. You do you. So we've got that. But on top of that, as the point I made, the next big issue is, of course, the H-1Bs, the visas. Young people are checking out. Gen Z is being told by the Trump administration, go F yourselves. And I'm like, dude, half of Gen Z is retarded already and going socialist. The other half is Zoomer waffing, being like, Trump ain't going to do it. We're going to do it for ourselves. And they're going to go watch Nick Fuentes. That's what we're getting from young people. That's where we're at. And so I look at that, and it's demoralizing. And then on top of that, you've got the economic crisis that we're dealing with that seems to be masked up. I've spoken with many other right-leaning personalities behind the scenes who are all pointing out, as I mentioned in my earlier morning segment, that ad rates are they're really low relative to where they should be right now. Viewership on YouTube is down, even for an off year, like a cycle year. Now, the expectation is next year things will kick up. But you have a combination of factors. Gen Z is checking out. They're checking out. They're not getting anything from the Trump administration, so they're tuning out of these videos. Like, I don't care about politics anymore. Trump's knifing me in the back, and Democrats want to give kids sex changes. So Gen Z is like, later. And you can see it happening. So they're not watching the videos, not to mention the economy is bad, grocery prices are up, and it's being masked. So all of this, and the big story is Democrats putting out fake emails from 14 years ago. I say fake in the sense that they've altered them through redaction to manipulate people. It's kind of like you see those, what's that comedy segment, Unnecessary Censorship, where the person will say something like, former, but they'll bleep the middle, so you hear uff and so it sounds like they're saying, effer. That's what Democrats basically did. On the right, half the news is about Candace Owens e-drama with other personalities, Ben Shapiro and Megyn Kelly, and it's just nothing to do with the shape of this country. It is disgusting. Demoralizing is an understatement. I got to be honest, I'm looking at this and being like, well, the H-1B visa thing is basically saying we should all go screw ourselves. And Republicans won't end the filibuster. The government shutdown was fake politicking. Democrats are just making this fake email stuff. And then I'm told that I should be really worried about the #1 podcast, Candace Owens, showing her texts from Charlie Kirk and the drama that surrounds it. And I'm like, I'm gonna go build a underground bunker with a or a bunker in the mountains and just leave. Because this is where we're at. We are done. I don't know. I mean, we got violence in the streets. We've got a shootout in Chicago. Some dude tried killing DHS guys. And, this is what we get on social media. So when I see this, the Republican Party might have blown their window to capture Trump's coalition. I'm just like, yeah. I'm looking at the violence at Turning Point USA, and I'm looking at Turning Point and Candace, and it is true. Someone at Turning Point was leaking stuff to her, like for what reason? And I'm wondering what Turning Point is doing. I don't hold Turning Point, responsible for what Candace is doing, but I'm just like looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, okay, let me put it like this for all you guys. I don't care if Candace is right or wrong, or Turning Point, or anybody else in the drama is right or wrong. That's fine. People are allowed to do whatever they want. They're allowed to talk about whatever they want. The issue is that at the end of August, where were we as a country? We were here doing our shows, talking news and politics, of course, and preparing for the end of the year special, as we often do. There was a plan, there was a path, and for me, both personally and professionally, things were looking up. The show and everything here, we're growing. We're bringing on good people. We're expanding. We've got, coffee sales are going up, and memberships and board sales and organization. Skate night events we've been doing have been massively successful, so business is good. And politically, we're riding the wave, baby. Trump won. Let's keep going. Don't get me wrong, there were terror attacks throughout the year, but Trump was on track. I texted Charlie Kirk, and I asked him, just following up on the plan for the end of the year, because Timcast IRL does Turning Point's Amfest the past 3 years. It's an amazing experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to be there. And Charlie texted me back, look at me, revealing our texts, saying, let me circle back to the team and get you the details. We'll get it going. Because I said, hey, let's get it set up so we can, set everything up in advance. I've got some other PR opportunities and stuff in the area. And a week after that, they killed him. And so I'll tell you what I'm saying, what I'm feeling. That moment before Charlie was murdered, there was a path that we were on that was promising. Now, 2 months later, the narrative has turned into conspiracy drama about Charlie Kirk. If Turning Point was involved in it, references to Jewish donors pulling out and how Erica knew everything. And that's the narrative the #1 podcast has given us. Candace can talk about whatever she wants. Same thing with Tucker Carlson. I will defend. No one has an obligation to hold my views or do what I want them to do. I'm not saying Candace should or should not do anything. My point is the audience effect of what I'm seeing. It felt like we were focused. Trump needed to win. The agenda needed to continue. Now, what do we have? Well, half the people are tweeting about the Jews. The other half are tweeting about how Turning Point killed Charlie. The #1 podcast is just basically covering the true crime aspect of an assassination of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I'm just like, focus is gone. Was Charlie really holding all of this together? Maybe. Seriously. And focus is gone. And it seems like H-1Bs with Trump, Chinese visas. And I'm just sitting here being like, wow, someone took a sledgehammer to the right coalition and splattered it. And like goop sprang in every direction. We are all now completely dejected and ripped apart. Forgive me for being a little bit blackpilled on the issue. But then I take a look at that and Gen Z basically saying we don't care. And I'm like, okay, well, we're losing the younger generation. They're not pro-Trump. You've got the biggest right-leaning podcast is basically just true crime now. And again, I'm not saying that Candace doesn't have the right to do that. They're mad at Tucker for interviewing Nick Fuentes, and he has every right to hold the opinions he wants to hold. I'm just saying right now, we are fractured. And the left is not. They're still up to their schemes, still doing their thing. It's demoralizing. It's completely demoralizing. How, every day I talk about the news of the day, what's going on. We have guests come on to share their stories on these things. And then I'm like, I am told explicitly, no. No one cares about the shape of the country. It was always the grift. What's going to get the most clicks? The Jews? Well, for some people, that's played really, really well for them as they get new Pakistani and Indonesian followers. Some people were caught shilling for soda companies for cash. Other prominent conservatives were posting pro-India trade statements for cash. And I'm sitting here being like, Merrick Garland tried framing me and many others for taking money from foreign countries that we never did. My family's put at risk every day, and this is what people are doing. For what? For Trump to give out H-1Bs to Indians and student visas to the Chinese? Is that what we're really doing this for? So we can blame Turning Point for killing Charlie or make some drama out of it? Holy, is that demoralizing. Sorry for blackpilling, but it is particularly brutal. We are beset on all sides by scumbaggery and villainy. And I don't know what else to tell you. Keep believing in good. Keep staying true to your views. And maybe those of us who walk towards the light trying to make this country something good for the future, for our children, our nation's children, will stay true to that and carry on. And if the rest were just liars and grifters, then we'll know that we did everything we could. And so that's all that I can do. Let me put it like this. A lot of people are complaining behind the scenes about the current state of politics on the right, particularly Tucker, Candace, Nick Fuentes. That's like a big drama thing on the right behind the scenes. And I got a bunch of people that have been privately saying things like they are sick of what Candace is doing because the view is she had a show that focused on news issues, but she's turned it into true crime news, which is no longer discussing prominent issues related to Trump, the border, international politics, and it's broken the focus of the right. I just said to them, Candace can talk about whatever she wants. You don't own the opinions of Tucker, Candace, Nick, me, or anybody else. However, I can certainly agree that the right is fractured. But my other issue is if you have that problem with her, then maybe you should go on X or make a video about it instead of just sitting back and mumbling to yourself. I'm going to wrap it there. We got bigger news to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. Auroras seen in the sky. We'll be joined by Ben Davidson, space weather guy. It's going to be really fascinating at 4 p.m. for those watching the pre-recorded. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Stay tuned. That'll be up again at 4 p.m. and we will see you all then.